Okay guys, welcome back. This is Module 6, Lesson 1. So we're getting into decimals. If you are still on Module 5, switch out to your Module 6 book. We are just starting to talk about decimals today. And decimals are that secret number that's behind the whole number that we have really not yet discussed yet. So we do know our place value, and we know ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, and it keeps going. Decimals are these part behind the ones that we haven't really seen yet, but they come out as a fraction. So this one would be tenths, almost like you're spitting at somebody. Tenths. It has that THS at the end. And then we're looking at hundredths. Again, that THS at the end, just as if you were spitting at somebody. It sounds silly, but it's true. So we're kind of just repeating our opposite side. And we're using this spot between our ones and our tens to add what we consider a decimal point. You can think about it like money. If something costs $4.80, here would be your $4, and your 80 cents would come behind your whole number. So if it's in the tenth spot, and we put it as a fraction, we would put it the number over 10. And in the hundreds, we would put the number over 100. So again, if we're writing it as a decimal and it was 80 cents, it would be 0.80. If I wanted to write it as a fraction, I end up in the hundreds, so it would be 80 over 100. But we're going to practice that. So let's go down to the first part where it's showing you a diagram. It is showing you 0 and 1, and then we see all these tick marks in between them. We did this with fractions where we would say 1/10, and then we would label this next one 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and then we would have labeled this 10 over 10 or 1 whole. So we've seen this part we know. Now we're going to turn it into a decimal, and we're in the tenths position, so we know we're right after the decimal. So we need, for 2, we would say 0.2. And we usually put a 0 in front of it to show that we don't have a whole number. We are between 0 and 1. If this was between 1 and 2, then you would have to put a 1 here. We're not there yet. We will get there. So we're moving on. We have 3 over 10, which equals 0.3. 4 over 10, which would equal 0.4. 5 over 10, here's your decimal point. And 5, remember we're staying in that tenths position, tenths. Your 0.6, 0.7, I'm 8 over 10, so here's my 0.8, 0.9, and this would be 1 or my whole number. So let's scroll down now. You're going to see some of the jugs down in 2A. And the first one, forget my drawing, says I have 1 liter. And they covered, and it says 0.5 liters. And they want you to write it as a fraction. Well, 0.5, here's my whole number. I know I'm in the tenths position. So my denominator would be 10. 0.5 means my numerator is 5. And if I want to write it as a decimal, it would be decimal point 5. Because remember, I'm staying in the tenths position. If you look down just a little bit further, it's going to ask you, how do I get up to a whole? This is 5A. However, I did not use 5A, so I'm just going to give you an example. 5C, this is. So if we are 8 out of 10 centimeters, 8/10, and they want us to get to 1 whole. Well, I know that my decimal point is going to be 10 because we've never changed that. So I'm going to say I have 8 and I need to get to 10. 8 plus what would give me 10? 8, 9, 10. So my answer is 2. So 8 plus 2 would give me 1 whole, or 10 over 10. Looking further down, just a little bit further, they're giving me ones where I have to connect the lines. They're giving me 3 columns. I'm just going to show you what it would look like here. If they gave me the word 3/10, I need to write it as a fraction. Well, I can look back up here and look at my number line and think to myself, 3/10. I know my denominator is going to be 10 because I'm sticking with my tenths, and I have 3 of them. So I have 3/10. If they want me to write it as a decimal, I know I'm in the 10th position, so I'm right behind that decimal point, 0.3. So on your number 6, it's a 3 column, and you would just have to connect them. You can see how they're written. They wrote it for you. They just want you to connect your lines. Let's look one more at 8/10. Again, I have 8 as my numerator. I'm going to stick with 10 as my denominator. And if I have to convert it as a decimal, 0.8. So again, in number 6, it's 3 columns, and they're just going to ask you to connect these. So if you have any questions, please look at the Eureka Math or reread this one. Have a good day, guys.